Also now, Martin Schulz, leader of the German Social Democrats, has called for Europe to be bound by a united constitution by 2025. Now they're showing their real hand. They want a United States of Europe. How have we got ourselves in this mess? How do we get out of it? One man who should have some ideas is Mr. Stephen Woolfe, who joins us now, the independent MEP, obviously former immigration spokesperson for UKIP. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, John. Good afternoon.
I tell you what, you could talk on every subject today, but we'll start with the EU before we move on to all the other nonsense. 72-hour deadline. Who the hell do these people think they are, and why are we in this mess?
Well, they are who they've always believed they are, John, which is the kind of supreme beings of the European continent. I mean, that's what they feel. And Schulz's very clear statement, which actually, to be fair on him, it matched what Jean-Claude Juncker said in the State of the Union speech early on in September, and what Macron then followed up after that. And that is that they are using Brexit to finish off the job of creating the country called the United States of Europe, something that we let the public know, and they called us liars for saying it would never happen. So now they want a very clear constitution. And why are we in the situation that we're in is because right at the very beginning, when we set out as a government, the red lines on immigration, the red lines on money, the red lines on trade, is we backtracked on it, partly because we have listened to some corporate interests, others because the civil servants and people like Anna Soubry have managed to whittle away the confidence of those in power. And that's where we are. We are with people now who won't pull the final trigger of the thing that really frightens the EU, and that is going for a no deal.
So you want her to walk away?
I think we should have always had it on the table. You begin a negotiation by saying, look, Mr. Barnier, I appreciate that you're looking after the interests of the 27 European nation states, and these are the 4 things that you said you want. Okay, we want to deal with it. Here is our ideas for you. Let's have a bit of banter backwards and forwards, but bear in mind this. The public said we will take complete control of immigration, and I don't want to leave the show today without talking about immigration, John, if you don't mind, because of what.
No, we're going to go on to that. Don't you worry. Carry on.
Yeah. The second is on terms of money, and of course you can always negotiate a bit of money. If those of us who have been divorced understand that you have to do that in order to try and see access to the children or move on. But as long as we've made it clear that these were our clear red lines, and once they pushed beyond them and do what they have always done, John, which is tend to take the mickey out of the other side, we should have instantly said, no, that isn't going to happen. We'll walk away, and you know the impact a no deal will have on Europe.
But she clearly hasn't done that, and she seems to be dancing to their tune, even to the point of which she was not only willing to betray the party who's propping her up in government, the DUP, but betray the whole of Northern Ireland. I mean, what she tried to do on Monday was despicable.
I think what was done on Monday was exactly the type of example of what the European Union does. It puts a pressure point on. It says, we're only going to do that, and now we're using Ireland, and we're going to back them up. And goodness knows what the hell the Irish think they're doing. The Irish were sold a kipper, to put an old line in terms of financing. They had a massive bank debt, and the European Union forced them to take bank debts that would have put German and French banks into bankruptcy and put it on the backs of the citizens of Ireland. Can't the Irish see that the EU will screw them again once their usefulness in this transaction is over?
So where now for Theresa May? Do you think she'll get a deal in 72 hours?
I think there will be a form of deal in 72 hours which will be nothing like what we campaigned for, what the public voted for. And as we're seeing on borders, yes, they're going to actually turn around and say that we'll have regulatory alignment. I'm sorry, John, but I've been just outside, just as an aside, where 10,000 10,000 Catalans have been demonstrating in Brussels today in the pouring rain over the way the EU are treating them. And if there's any lesson in how undemocratic this place is, how anti-democratic place is, you got to understand how you've got 10,000 Catalans that come here to say, stop imprisoning our politicians for supporting our view. So I've been watching that, and that's really what's down the line for us if we remain in. It's that sort of attitude that they have, and that's what she's facing. And they'll do a deal on border. Of course they will. But it'll mean regulatory alignment. And in normal speak, for you and I, we know that means staying in the customs union for 10 years.
So,
at least.
So in effect, we'll still be in the EU, but not in it. It's the worst possible position to be in.
Let's look at the factors that we've seen so far. On money, we're going to give them at least 50 billion. That's nearly 8 or 9 years of our net contributions. So effectively, they're getting our money 9 years in advance. Yeah. On the Irish border, and David Davis says we've got to have regulatory alignment across the whole of the UK. So we're complying with EU rules for the next 10 years. On immigration, as we know this morning, they're going to allow EU citizens to continue to come in and out willy-nilly as they want, and bring their families in when they want, and claim benefits when they want, and be able to marry people from outside of the EU and bring them in when they want, when our citizens can't. So, i.e.,
let's just stress that a minute, though. They want to give European citizens more rights than British citizens in the UK, don't they? Effectively.
That's right. They basically today, if that agreement comes out, the report that I picked up on this morning, which was a leaked report that shows that European Union citizens will be first-class or super-class citizens in the UK, and British citizens will be second-class citizens in their own country. And if you come from a third non-EU country, American, Australia, India, Pakistan, Africa, you will be third-class citizens in the European Union. That is what we're giving away. It's shocking, it's appalling, it's utterly disgraceful to the people of this country. And I cannot believe that anybody has sensibly wants to put their pen to paper to something that does that.
And what about David?
About it, John.
No, I can understand that. What about David Davis and his performance yesterday? I thought he was a Brexiteer, although the stories this morning that he's planning a coup. I mean, so the two questions: why was he so bad yesterday, and is May finished? What's your view, Stephen?
I honestly don't know now, John. I have watched this saga backwards and forwards over the past few months. We've seen people saying we're putting pressure on Theresa in terms of Michael Gove and Boris Johnson 1 minute, and then we've seen the decapitation of strong Brexiteers like Priti Patel the next. Whatever is going on inside the Conservative Party is clearly a mystery to all of us outside of it, except we do know this. There is a huge internal fight between the elitist liberal Conservatives, who are effectively a Liberal Democrats. They're not Conservative Party members at all. They're a wing of the Labour Party, or kind of PP Oxford types who all think exactly the same. And the Conservatives who are supporting Brexit. And of course, that's the massive fight. Whoever wins at this stage will determine where our country is in the next decades onwards.
So how do we, the ordinary people, fight back against all this nonsense? Or was it just a waste of time voting in June? 17.4 million? They're just going to ignore us, aren't they? They are ignoring us. They
are ignoring us, and they believe that we will just go completely quiet and just accept it. We'll stop voting. We'll ignore them. That's exactly what they want. I think we'll see sporadic elements of violence, perhaps, against Remainers. You might see the odd punch-up in a bar or in a restaurant, or, determination between families. But eventually, I think what will happen is that we will just turn around and say, sod you. We're never going to vote again. We don't trust you ever again. And we'll watch it go down in hell in a handcart around us, because until somebody with some serious deep pockets in money now are willing to stump up a campaign that's going to put us into the millions a year to push this again, to build up a new political party. And there is no sign of that, John. There is just no sign of that at the moment of people putting their hands in the pockets to do that. Then it will be the most monumental portrayal of particularly the working poor and working families in this country that have suffered the impact of our membership of the European Union.
Now, I can't speak to you and let you go without asking. Go on, carry on.
Go on. No, sorry, John. No.
I can't let you go today. You know, you've been a Manchester lad and been a lot of your life's been in the Manchester area without asking you this question about this best mate of the Manchester suicide bomber who has returned from Syria / Iraq. He was a sniper for the Islamic State, Mohammed Abdallah, and he's been sentenced today. His brother's already in prison for terrorism offences. I mean, this is just madness. Why are we letting these people in? And we know there's at least 700 more either here or coming in. Why are we letting them back, Stephen?
The same weakness, we're letting the European Union win over this issue. The same weakness that we're not supporting Trump in promoting Jerusalem as being the capital for Israel. The same weakness that we've been shown because we've been infected by a liberal disease that just doesn't understand what ordinary people have to go. And whilst they're living in their closeted university lands where they meet each other, that's where they live, that's where they breathe, and that's where they continue to go once they left. That these people should never have been allowed to return. They should have, and if we ever found them here, we should deport them back to the countries that they were fighting in and let those countries that are now trying to reform again, in this case Syria, let the Syrian government treat them for what they are, the war criminals that they are, the terrorists that they are, and let them do it at their own hand. We certainly shouldn't have anything to do with them whatsoever. We certainly should be paying taxpayers' money to fund them in effectively a training camp for jihadis, which is the prisons of the future.
It's a mad, mad world. Stephen, thank you for joining us. Stephen Woolfe, independent MEP.
You didn't, frankly, have the balls to put country before party.